dot com.
Wasn't even clear though, it had stuff crossed out.
Another
It wasn't
department or
Is it
commercial.
clear
I
exactly
know.
what?
Yeah,
It's always worth asking,
yeah.
because that could be the thing I had wrong.
Well, that's good news, you're making progress.
Making progress.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Are we ready? Have you got everybody online? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. I call the meeting of the King City Planning Commission at 6:01. And before we start the agenda, we need roll call.
Commissioner Blair?
Thank you.
Up here.
Commissioner here?
Here.
Commissioner Meyer?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Ellis?
Here.
Chair Buhner?
Here.
Absent right now is Commissioner Petrie.
Yes, she contacted me. She'd had a conflict before the meeting got moved. So, okay, before we start with the public hearing tonight, I want to remind everybody that the sole issue we can address are the criteria for approval or disapproval of this application. If someone has suggestions for changing a code or amending or adding to a code provision, that should be discussed at a workshop, not during the public hearing, because it doesn't apply to the criteria. With that, unless anybody has any other suggestions, I'm going to open the public hearing. We didn't have minutes, did we? Thank you. Max, you are asked. Would you like to do your presentation?
Sure thing. Thank you, Chair. So, we received an application for a development proposal, 50 lots over, just east of Elsner. The Charlotte Woods development, as you may recall, had a bit of a gap in it. And this Charlotte Woods 2 development is reported to fill that gap essentially. So the street networks are the same, tying in as well, and then it basically just sort of completes that previously approved. A lot of the criteria and a lot of the statements from the applicant that pertain to adhering to criteria were relatively the same because we've already gone through the approval process. So the applicant approval of development plan review with an adjustment for lines on the cottage clusters. That adjustment basically is allowed under 16.114.150 because it doesn't change the density or the regulating plan or any of it. It basically makes it to where when you have a cottage cluster, the way that they design them, all of the cottages facing a public street. The cottages in the middle of the cluster are facing a public easement, which is a walkway that goes through the cottage clusters. This also avoids maybe problematic issues later on where the applicants had to apply for modifications to accommodate that. This time they just decided to apply for that adjustment. Along with the development plan, we have the subdivision, and then there's also a tree removal for 3 trees. Everything that they needed to supply the city was supplied. They have service provider letters, they have traffic impact studies, site plans, stormwater reports. The street network is aligned with the TSP and the regulating plan. The density hits its goals. With all of that in mind, the recommendation from the staff is to approve this development plan. Does anyone have any questions?
Other than the item you mentioned, does this plan mirror the shadow plan that was in the original development?
Yes, it does.
I forgot to deal with potential conflicts of interest.
We're not,
You don't want to do that yet?
not there yet.
Okay.
We'll be there soon.
We also received statements from the county for transportation along Beach Bend, as well as Clean Water Services outlining some conditions of approval. And then we also have a memo at the very end of the staff report from the city engineer. As always, throughout the development process, the applicant will have to go through all of the agency review and approval, engineering approval, and building construction approval.
I assume that this development will be able to get its water, sewer, et cetera, off of the line that was extended for the, town center. Are there any questions?
I'll have some questions for, Meryl Stephanie and herself.
Okay,
I don't know if it's, we're ready for that yet or not.
no, this is questions of staff on the staff report.
After staff report, then you can do the retained and conflict of interest.
Okay. All right, we need to announce any conflicts of interest relating to this development, including site visits. Commissioner Mitchell?
I have none.
None.
No conflicts.
None.
No conflict.
Okay. Does anyone in the,
Doing ex parte?
I asked including site visits. Does anybody in the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of this commission or any member of the commission? Seeing none? Okay, have we met the standard, Ronnie? Can we move ahead now? All right. All right, having had the staff report, I'm going to move to the applicant's presentation. And you're going to have to speak up because this is being recorded for the television. And I know sometimes our voices kind of get very quiet.
That does happen. All right, perfect. Oh, almost there. Good evening, Commission Chair and members. Tonight I am here to present a proposed development review application, Charlene Woods number 2, which is located in the Kingston Terrace Master Plan area. And for the record, my name is Peyton James. I am an associate planner at Pacific Community Design, and the address is 12564 Southwest Main Street in Tigard. Charlene Woods number 2 is an approximately 5-acre out parcel of the Charlene Woods development site, which was approved in January of this year. Next slide, please. To give broader context, Charlene Woods number 2 is in the Kingston Terrace Master Plan area. It is along Southwest Beef Bend Road, west of King City proper, north of the Tualatin River, and is surrounded on 3 sides by the Charlene Woods development. Its annexation to the city was approved by City Council in September of this year. Next. The Charlene Woods number 2 property boundary here is shown in white, and the project limits are shown in yellow. This differentiation is because this application also includes the establishment of 6 lots that were included in the original Charlene Woods density calculation. So there are 50 proposed homes within the property boundary of Charlene Woods number 2 and 56 total within the project limit. Next. The Charlene Woods number 2 site is entirely within the Beef Bend neighborhood zone, and the requested uses are outright permitted. And here we have the backbone street map of the Kingston Terrace Master Plan, and this indicates some improved intersections around the site. The Southwest Beef Bend Road intersection will be improved with the Kingston Terrace Town Center, and the Southwest Elsner Road roundabout will be constructed with the Charlene Woods development. The traffic circles shown on the map were indicated as aspirational with the Backbone Street map, and were not included in either Charlene Woods number 2 or the original Charlene Woods due to size constraints while trying to meet the required density. Next. In here we have the park system from the Kingston Terrace Master Plan. The majority of these park improvements will occur with the Charlene Woods development. Charlene Woods number 2 will complete the linear green along Southwest Beacon Road and the hardscape trail along Southwest Fox Ridge Avenue, and that is along the western boundary of Charlene Woods number 2. Along with the linear green and the hard surface trail, Charlene Woods number 2 will provide a pocket park for passive recreation and open lawn area, as well as mid-block pathways to provide additional connectivity within and out to the surrounding Charlene Woods development. Overall, both Charlene Woods number 2 and the original Charlene Woods application provide ample connectivity for active transportation, such as biking and walking. The paths and trails lead to homes, open spaces, and adjacent neighborhoods to help complete the overall connectivity of the Kingston Terrace Master Plan area. Of the 56 proposed homes for the Charlene Woods number 2 development, 30 are proposed to be single detached cottage-style homes that will front a shared courtyard. These homes are approximately 1,200 square feet with either 2 or 3 bedrooms, 2 or 2.5 baths, and a 1-car rear-loaded garage. Next. A minor adjustment application is also sought with this submittal so that the cottages front a pedestrian path and a public easement instead of a public street. This is consistent with the recently approved minor modification for the original Charlene Woods application. Allowing the homes to front a pedestrian path would foster a greater sense of community with the shared common space, enabling more frequent interactions and passive recreation time spent together. Next. And of the 56 proposed homes for Charlene Woods 2, 26 would be single detached alley-loaded homes, and these homes range from approximately 1,700 to 1,900 square feet, with 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and 2-car garages. Next. The next several slides provide details on the proposed utilities for Charlene Woods number 2, which have been sized in consideration for the overall Charlene Woods development. This slide details the sanitary sewer system, which is sized to be consistent with Charlene Woods overall. And this slide illustrates the proposed storm system. The storm network drains to the stormwater facility in the original Charlene Woods development, which was sized for this capacity. This graphic details the proposed water lines for Charlene Woods number 2, and this is also consistent with the surrounding network of Charlene Woods. Charlene Woods number 2 fronts the Washington County Arterial, Southwest Beef Bend Road. Interim improvements are proposed to be constructed until enough right-of-way can be dedicated for full build-out. Next. Charlene Woods number 2 has one neighborhood route, Southwest Fox Ridge Avenue, that intersects with Southwest Beef Bend Road and continues into the surrounding Charlene Woods site. Only the portion within the project limits is proposed to be built with Charlene Woods number 2, and this neighborhood route will have bike lanes and sidewalks for both directions of travel. And Charlene Woods number 2 has one local road, Southwest Willow Bend Way. This local road will provide parking on one side, bike lanes will be shared in the travel lanes, and sidewalks are provided for both directions of travel. And all homes proposed for Charlene Woods 2 are alley loaded, and they will have 20 feet of right-of-way. Charlene Woods number 2 does not have any upland or riparian habitat conservation areas on site, and 3 trees are proposed for removal with this project. This concludes the presentation for the proposed development of Charlene Woods number 2, an outparcel of the already approved Charlene Woods development. And we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
There was a request to have somebody who was working on the transportation.
Sure. Yes, we have our traffic engineer here.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Chris Bramer from Kittleson Associates. Mailing address is 851 Southwest 6th Avenue, Suite 600 in Portland. What questions may I answer for you?
So I have a few questions. The first would be, if you could kind of explain the TIA assumptions as far as, the assumptions for 2028, right?
Correct.
So you used 2023 data,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a 2-year kind of leeway, right, that you could use that
Correct.
data. So, all of the data, so the 2023 data is the TSP data, am I understanding that correctly?
No, the 2023 data was collected in May, and it was specific for this project, so that was collected after the TSP was completed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you looked at, let's see, Exhibit F, where it talks about the flow predictions,
Okay. Is there a page that you're on, or?
Exhibit F is just one page. And it talked about traffic flow within, Sherman Woods.
We're talking about the same.
Talking about the exit.
I have Exhibit
Okay,
F.
all right, thank you. So when you look at the flow of Sherman Woods to, notice that there's no like flow predictions for Kingston Terrace Boulevard. And I'm just curious why focus was not, that wasn't included in the flow prediction.
I may have to defer a little bit to my team here. I believe this exhibit was put together for maybe pavement calculation purposes, and I think the focus of it was the local streets, but
That's accurate, yeah.
So this was not intended for the traffic study itself. This was more for pavement calculations and making sure they're getting the right depth of pavement.
Oh, okay, all right, so it's more of a construction standard.
Yeah, to demonstrate that the pavement is adequate, yes. It's
Okay.
not intended to be the traffic impact.
Okay. And if we can go to Exhibit C, the sheet 12.
Sorry, is that? And the sheet 12 is on you then?
Yeah. So I understand that this is outside the project area that's included in the packet. And as we move forward with other developments, impacts on the environment and whatnot, just curious, it depicts Class 2 riparian and Class 1 riparian on the east side of 155th.
I see that, yes. This is another exhibit. I may have to get some help. I did not prepare this.
All right. So I'm just curious, if somebody can answer the question on that, is, are there setback requirements for Class 1 riparian?
Buffers. You
Buffers.
need to come so that they can hear you on the recording, sorry.
Yes, there are, for BWS, there are buffers, and these, HCA mapped areas, they have, Yes, but to answer your point, they do have buffers that we would need to
So
stay on
would
this.
class one or class two riparian be considered HCA?
Yes, although from my understanding, just the upland HCA's are within the city's jurisdiction, and then CWS has jurisdiction of the riparian, zones.
So, class one riparian and class two riparian are considered HCA, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if I go to, I looked at Exhibit H, Construction Management Plan, and in that exhibit, references the HCA mapping in C12. Reference. It states the property does not contain mapped upland wildlife. So I was wondering where the distinction is between HCA and then making a reference to the fact that it's HCA.
So there isn't HCA, there isn't upland or riparian HCA within the Sherman Woods number 2, property boundary. That's correct. And is the construction management plan, did that also say that there was not any riparian or upland HCA zones in Sherman Woods number 2?
Well, I guess that's where the distinction lies, right? Is that not part of Shoreline 2. But when I see the fact that, if you look at that map on, it actually shows the class 2 riparian over the top of one. Class 1 riparian, like, shows very close to the boundary of one. So when it comes to, and again, I'm just asking these questions because I know we're going to. When it comes to a buffer, being like a roadway, boundary or buffer.
Okay, I think I'm seeing your question now.
Okay.
I believe if we are impacting that buffer, we would have had, mitigate those impacts. And that was included within the original Sherman Woods application. So if we are within those buffers, then CWS would have had, either we would have already demonstrated or would have been in our conditions of approval, to mitigate for any impact to those buffer areas.
In essence, you got a waiver of some sort, right?
Yeah, through their, standards and.
Let's see here. Just had a question about, back to Kittleson again. In Exhibit E on page 2, talking about Southwest Beach and Road. And it said that, both the road serving phase 2, or 1 and 2, are neighborhood routes. Isn't 150? Maybe Max, maybe you could help with that. Isn't 155th a collector?
I look at the regulating plan, I don't have it in front of me right now, it's either 155th or closer up 150th.
What page are you talking about, Mike?
This is,
I'm looking at their,
Exhibit E,
yeah.
page 2. And I think, I don't have it in front of me, but, sure, if you talk about both roads serving phase 1 and 2 are.
155th is the neighborhood route.
The neighborhood route, is it commission, maybe that changed.
You look in the regulating plan map.
Because I'm looking at a map from September 13th of 2023, so maybe that's the
Regulating plan map.
called draft Title 60 community. So just one last question for you, and that is, on page 40 to 49, the packet of Appendix C, you talked about existing conditions. That's all the transportation data. There were, the current conditions. And I believe that portion of the table, is focusing on Beef Bend or Roy Rogers Road. I have an LOS of D at Beef Bend and Roy Rogers straight out of the gate. It seems to me like that could be really problematic when looking down the road. Isn't the plan for Beef Bend to have 2 left-hand turn lanes at Beef Bend and Roy Rogers? So 2 left-hand turn lanes onto Roy Rogers Road.
That may be the ultimate plan. I'll have to go back and look. There are improvements that are required of Kingston Terrace that would not be built into the existing conditions of this report because they're not yet on the ground, but there are, you're correct, the intersection is constrained today, and so Kingston Terrace to the west of this project is required to build improvements at that intersection, and as well, they're bringing the second collector connection down to Roy Rogers and adding a traffic signal there, so that infrastructure will show up between the existing and the future.
And isn't that related to Tigard's side of the intersection?
The improvements that I'm
Yeah.
speaking to are, they're required of the town center just to the west of us, and it's all part of a coordinated plan that's been worked out with King City's transportation system plan and then impacts from Tigard and other communities.
Because we're only doing the one side, south side improvement, and we're not responsible for the north side improvements. And then I know there's a plan for an additional right turn lane. So I just want to make sure we aren't talking apples and oranges here.
I appreciate that clarification, yes.
So one of those improvements expected to be made, and River Terrace speaking most about that intersection.
The initial improvements will be made when the town center directly west of this project is constructed. There are conditions of approval, both for widening on Roy Rogers itself and then turn lanes at the intersection. And then I believe there's a longer-term plan that's not yet conditioned on development that, as the chair was referring to, will build out that north side and add still more capacity.
What's the improvement as a result of the Kingston Terrace side? You know, is it the extra left-hand turn lane, and then the extra right-hand turn lane, then would come later with Terrace 2.0?
I believe Patrick may be able to help me here, but I believe we're adding a northbound right turn lane and then on Roy Rogers. Yeah, so basically Roy Rogers coming up to Beef Bend will have a left turn lane, 2 through lanes, and a separate right turn lane. Signal would be reconstructed to accommodate all that. You're welcome.
Did you have any questions?
No,
Okay.
not for transportation.
I have I noticed you took the roundabouts out, and I understand, the limitations. Are you planning to put stop signs where the, roundabouts were originally designed?
I will have
We
to
need come
confer
up
with
to Because I'm concerned about traffic flow control. Speaking as an issue we've got on another development.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me get my bearings on this. The neighborhood route that comes in, you're talking about the north-south street that connects with Beef Bend, correct? We are not proposing stop signs on the north-south movements until you get to Kingston Terrace Boulevard. And that is intentional. We want the local roads that connect to that north-south connection to be stop controlled to allow easier access from Beef Bend down into the site to reach the proposed collector, Kingston Terrace Boulevard, and start getting traffic moving on that to bring it into the community. I will have to check. I know the grades from Beef Bend down to Kingston Terrace are fairly steep. So we may have gotten some design exceptions to have, I believe, the intersection of Dewfall, which is the second intersection as you come from Beef Bend, be a four-way stop controlled, because we needed to flatten that out.
I would like you to consider putting stop signs at all of, again, because the grade. And, did you know when people go downhill, they tend to get faster?
It is a good point.
I mean, you know, we've had serious problems on 131st because of that issue, and I would like us to be
Sure.
proactive and seriously consider stop signs so that will help keep the traffic not going so quickly.
I think we can work with the city engineer and city staff, and they've been great to work with on issues just like this. We would propose to do something on that, maybe on the second intersection down. It might be problematic to have a four-way stop control on that first intersection because traffic
Yeah.
may back up into Beef Bend, and we want to avoid that. So
Well, I
Definitely look
hope
at
you
that.
would seriously consider that because
Absolutely.
I'm concerned, again, because of the grade. There is a very significant grade differential.
yeah, it was a challenge to get the street connection in.
Yeah. So, again, it would have been lovely to have roundabouts, but.
You're talking on Foxbridge Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because this Willowbend Way is a bicycle route. A lot of the time, you'll have, stop signs on the larger street to allow bicyclists to not have to stop every single.
Yes.
Yeah, because we have a major bicycle route. That's another component of this issue.
And I believe Dewfall's that bicycle route that comes in from 155th, so.
Okay, that was my transportation. Does anybody else have a transportation question? Okay, you're on, Dean.
Okay, just generic questions for whoever. Just double checking, on the staff report, I noticed it's got the issue we dealt with on the previous application, that you have the 3-foot grade street to house as opposed to the 18 inches. And so the 3-foot's good here. I'm just curious, or will we go through that routine again?
Yeah, oh, that's right. So that particular issue has been dealt with a text amendment to the actual code, the planning code, the development code. So we now comply with the new requirement, which is the 18-inch.
Which is the 18 inch?
Yeah. So it applies for all projects moving forward.
Okay. Should we have that changed in the application? Page 18, staff report.
I don't think it's necessary to change it.
Okay.
When they applied, I don't think the code had been passed yet. But,
That's accurate.
right, but when we do, so afterwards, when the applicant submits building permits, they have to submit a site plan that I kind of do like a once-over final review of. And if they were out of compliance, say that they had less than 3 feet prior to the code amendment, that would have been flagged, but since the code's already been changed,
Okay. I noticed that the linear and pocket parks are owned by the HOA. And for example, Old King City, you have parks owned by the HOA, but they are restricted to people within the HOA. Who will have access to the linear and pocket parks? Because they look to me like public's gonna want to go through there.
I believe for both of those parks, there are easements for public pedestrian and bicycle access, so they're unrestricted in terms of access.
Okay.
That's a great question, and you know that can be avoided.
I need you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's not you, it's the we want everyone to be able to hear.
That's a very common question, Pam Verdes.
So, because we understand that people are attracted to parks wherever they can, access a park, the HOA will pay for the maintenance of the park, but there will be a public access easement over the park for liability, all that. Did I answer your question?
Okay. So I get a question regarding that. So the only park within Charlotte Woods, 1 or 2, is the pocket park, right?
That's not correct, actually. There's an open space area with trails and park benches.
Okay, so is that open space considered a park then? Or
It will be a passive park, so it will be part of,
a passive park?
yeah.
And that was donated to the city?
It has not been donated yet.
That's the plan?
Once it's closed and the plat is recorded, that's the plan.
Okay. And you know, looking into the future, if that passive park will connect maybe to a future community park down in the southwest corner of Charlotte? Is that the plan?
That's part of the master plan.
Or master plan?
There was a park identified in that southern region.
Okay, and maybe I didn't get the full understanding of what you were talking about as far as maintenance goes. Will the HOA maintain that passive park? Or...
If we convey it to the city will maintain it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Questions? Can you answer?
I have a couple comments, actually. Actually, Matt, how wide is a public utility easement required? There's one up by Beef Bend. Looks like it's 15 feet. Do you know? I don't know that. You don't know off the top of your head. Because I noticed that the trees that are planted there are on the north side of the sidewalk, which means south sun will get anybody walking in there. There are some trees. It is in figure 2.2 on sheet 2.2. The second tree is shown to be downhill, and I just, trees are for shade, and so if they fit in the easement, which is at the same elevation as the street, that would be very helpful for people who walk in the hot sun.
If the easement was wide enough, you would like to see.
Yeah, if it's wide enough to add trees there, then put them up there and not down on the hill.
And I believe the ones farther down are, yard trees, more likely, the ones on.
Right, and then they probably won't shade anybody, and
You talking about the street trees?
well, the street trees are on the north side of the sidewalk, so they're not shading the people, not shading the cars, which is fine. But, because we do want shading the pavement too. I should probably put that option. Okay, I had a suggestion, it was on sheet 10.1, where, and I'm trying to remember what I done this. Okay, and this is fun to do stuff. Okay, this is on Fox Ridge Avenue, and this is kind of an either-or sort of thing. I was thinking that maybe you might slow traffic down by moving the tree towards the into the bicycle lane, and the bicycle lane into the tree spot. It can be delineated by different kinds of pavement, by striping, but whatever. But it's been shown that trees next to the road slow traffic. That's on 10.1. L1. I noticed that there are some trees that are names. There's a sugar maple acer saccharum, which is great. Nissus sylvatica, which is the black tupelo, is a very slow-growing tree. Once it gets there, it's great, but it's slow. Coleteria, which is the golden rain tree, is invasive. So although it's gorgeous, a gorgeous tree you see all over the place. And the oxydendron is very slow-growing. I've been watching one grow out my back window for 15 years. It is probably 12 feet tall finally. So, not a good street tree. Yes. Oh, also, this is a question that is kind of, I noticed that you have sliding doors on the side elevations of the small homes. In the future, and I'll ask Max, I don't think we have any provision for a zero lot line home. It would seem that that is what you were thinking of when you put that sliding door on the side of the elevation. This is 2 years in the future, and if we come up with code that would accommodate the zero lot line, would you be able to adjust things? Is that something that you would be able to do?
It would be through a minor modification if we were going to do that. I believe our construction timeline is summer 2027. But as far as the zero, I believe for at least attached homes, you have the zero lot line. But these would be detached, so setbacks in between.
Yeah, right now they're 5 feet on each side, and I know in some subdivisions, you know, you've got a 10-foot yard on your side, and 5 feet on each side, which is what I've got. It's useless, but 10 feet is useful. So, just a suggestion.
And I think a selling point that we would be trying to encourage with the cottages is using that like open common space. I think that's the big seller. So I think that's why the 5-foot setbacks there, because there was going to be like additional common space.
Right, yeah. That was a small home, yeah.
Add a comment to that. So although these homes are not zero lot line, there's an active and a passive side so that they do have 10 feet between each home.
Right, I know.
Okay, I just want to make sure you knew that.
No,
Okay.
I had to ask my neighbor if I could extend my garden into his space, which she wasn't taking care of.
Understood. Okay. Okay. So except for a corner lot that would be fully fenced,
Right.
is an active and, okay. All right, thank you.
I have a tree question. How many developments have included eastern oak trees? They are native to a much lower latitude, and so here they leaf out much later, and they lose their leaves before anything else that grows here loses its leaves. A major pain. I wish we were using native trees, so my request is no eastern oak trees in this development. I mean, I was at the bank down here, and they're all eastern oaks, and they lost their leaves a month before anything else. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, again, it's because they're native to a much lower latitude.
All of the tree comments and suggestions we will send back to our landscape architect.
Yes. He's a landscape. Anyway, okay, are there any, did you have any questions? Commissioner Mitchell? Okay.
I have a question about parking. On Willow Bend Way, there's only 20 spaces available. Is that going to be enough? And why can't it be parking on the side with the cottage clusters or on Foxridge Ave?
I believe the right-of-ways, just to be able to meet the required densities for these projects, we didn't want to create wider right-of-ways, because that would kind of impact the area we would be able to provide for homes. And so the amount of parking that we have, we like to provide as much parking as we're able to as well. So that was what we were able to provide within those constraints. But yes, the cottages will have that one-car garage, and then the alley loads, the traditional single detached will at least have the two-car garages.
And there will be room for a car outside of the one-car garages?
Do we have full driveways?
Not in colleges.
Well, we've got a problem in that the state code has eliminated off-street parking. And so we have we've had our discretion taken away.
That brings up a question for me. How close are you meeting the density requirements, like in this project, Berlin 1 and 2? Are you like right there, or do you have?
I believe for the minimum required density, we are just hitting it for Charlene Woods 2, and then I think for Charlene Woods, the required minimum is 18, and we're at like 18.5 or 19, so
Very close.
it's very close, yes.
If there are no other further questions, any further comments from staff? Okay. Is there any member of the public who would like to testify? If you are in favor, please obviously there's no public here in the room. Are there any folks online that would like to testify in favor? Are there any folks? No online folks? Okay, well, then at that point, obviously I don't think you have any rebuttal. I'm going to close the public hearing. And I would open this for discussion among members of the commission. This is deafening.
Oh, I think we should put something different in there.
All right, hearing no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve or disapprove.
With conditions, I'm sorry, Chair.
Yes, with conditions for the application.
I move that we approve Charlene Woods 2 with conditions.
The conditions, max outline.
What are conditions?
The conditions are baked into the staff report. They're relatively general, mostly detailing that applicant has to coordinate with all the relevant agencies, has to adhere to the conditions set forth by CWS and the city here. Blanket level conditions. There's nothing in particular that's specific to this development that wouldn't be included in any other.
Is there a second to the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. Do you need a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Meyer? Yes. Commissioner Gothier? Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Bellows?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Chair Boehner?
Yes. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys do a wonderful development, and I'm watching what's going on with the town center. I see, are those your model homes going up? Wow. And when do you anticipate you'll start announcing sale options?
I think it was our best foot forward, so it could be early.
Wow.
Pre-sale.
That's very exciting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate your professional approach to things. Having worked in land use stuff for more years than I care to admit, I can't say all developers are as qualified and responsive. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a second item on our agenda. In July, I believe, we talked at a workshop about making a recommendation to amend the master plan to ask for a parks master plan within, I am specifying that correctly, and staff has provided us with a draft resolution with the theory that we would recommend to council that they would adopt this and start the ball running to do a parks master plan.
Would you like me to read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Resolution number 2025-20, resolution of the City Council of the City of King City, Oregon, to authorize staff work towards addressing areas of need in the King City Master Plan and associated community development. So, as we discussed in the workshop and some meetings prior to that, the Planning Commission has identified a need to develop a Parks Master Plan and also explore options for incentivizing affordable housing, which I think takes like subsidized housing.
Oh, I think you need to clarify that then. I didn't know what meant by that.
That what the Planning Commission would like. Still not exact, I'm more certain of the master plan area, but the affordable housing.
Oh, okay, or federal, okay.
Yeah.
When I read that, I
Okay.
skipped.
Anyway, so this meeting is to discuss, as the chair mentioned, draft. And so you can vote on it today, we can discuss it, you can request amendments be made, and vote on those amendments.
And we could tweak it in this meeting. Okay.
I made the language in this pretty broad, because it literally is just authorizing staff to go seek funding and.
And there would be appropriate grants to do this project?
I believe so. I talked to the LCD, and I think it was the APO Housing Authority. I can't remember the NASDAQ. There are organizations in the state that would provide technical assistance.
Okay.
And then also the LCD would provide technical assistance.
Okay.
And Metro.
So here are my concerns. I think that a Parks Master Plan would be great. But I talked to the city planning manager at Sherwood, and they did their Parks Master Plan back in 2006, I think. And they just did an amendment here, I think, in 2023. That amendment was $200,000. Just for the amendment. And that's with the Master Parks Plan in place. So I don't know that King City really wants to dump a couple $100,000 into a Parks Master Plan. So I think looking for other opportunities for funding would be great, right? But in the meantime, I'm just afraid that grant funding or other opportunities may take a while. And when I look at the development that's already been approved and what's left in terms of space for park, it concerns me because I don't know that the mechanisms are in place right now to compel a developer to build a park or to volunteer property that they purchased to be used as park space. And I think in an email that you had sent out, Max, I think that was one of the issues that you raised, is that there's nothing in our development code or any way of compelling a developer to build a park. They could just basically simply say no. Isn't that correct at this point?
That is correct. The onus for example, the community park that you pointed out, that's down by the river in the southwest portion of the Charlotte Woods, that would be likely funded by the city through system development charges. So if the city council at some future time decided that each park have X amount of dollars, upwards into the millions, to buy the property and fund the park. The parks are located in the master plan in areas that are generally considered undevelopable, like in the floodplain or in areas that are forested that have habitat and things like that. And so that was the plan when they were developing the master plan originally, was that the city, community parks are on the capital improvement project list, which is the project list that's listed in the system development charges that are the only things that the system development charges can be used to fund. So, for example, if you've done any of the city council meetings, there's a concern about sidewalks right now, and some people have said, well, why don't we use the system development charges on sidewalks? And why you can't do that is because sidewalk repair is not considered a capital improvement project. It's not constructing anything, it's not building anything, it's already there. And so that list is what will be ultimately used by these parks. The city would have to spend money to pay a consultant to design the park, and also have to spend money for acquisition of parkland. And as things develop, it again will be the onus of the city to say, okay, well, we've got X amount of people coming into this area, maybe the time is right, and the money is allocated enough to build a park where the city identifies that.
Yeah, and I spent some time looking at other city codes. I looked at Beaverton, and they have a requirement for open space in a development above and beyond the system development charges, and they have it worded in their way. And Tigard has it worded in their way too. What we ran into is the one development that we may have worked on while you were away, was just rows and rows of houses without any kind of breathing space. And we wanted to really avoid that. We, want to build lots of housing, but we don't want to pack people in so they can't breathe. So that's really the intent here, is to find a way to have a pressure valve on our density.
So when it comes to the resolution, I like the fact that can pursue funding, but at the same time, can't we amend, I know that we can amend the resolution, but my suggestion would be to look for ways that we as a planning commission or staff or a combination of the two, obviously, to look for ways of instituting amendments to our development code, maybe, that allow the city to implement desirable, changes to the park plan. Does that make sense?
And I think that circles back to a conversation we had previously where it was, the question becomes, require X amount of property, say it's 5% of the development, parks. How does that factor into the required density? And does it disrupt the requirement? That piece of it? I think that was the issue that I have yet to solve.
So, if you look at the parks plan, and if you look at it too, it's very deceptive because it's not the scale. If you look at the green ovals, right, they're very small. They're way off scale-wise. If you look at a 15 acres, it's a big chunk. It's a pretty good size. And when you look at the developed area, to the west and to the east, there's kind of a squeeze job going on in the middle, right? Where the town center has very little park. It has the linear park at like 6 acres. There's a neighborhood park, I think, planned for the very south end. And there might be a couple little pocket parks, but that's it. I think for that total area, it's like, I don't know, I've got some numbers here. For the total town center area, there is about 9 acres. 6.59 of the park blocks, 1 acre urban park, and 1.7 of pocket parks.
To be fair, I mean, the Kingston Community Park. That's our only park.
It's actually 17,
Well, it's 17 if you include the forest.
Okay,
but
I have a question. We've got the area that's down in the floodplain below the town center.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be acceptable. It's gonna have a fence, because it's.
Oh, you're not going to allow, park development? That was what when we were working on master plan, that was the assumption that that would be.
Are
you talking on Charlene's Wood, like?
No, down below, the town center.
That's like a locally significant wetland.
Okay, so we're not gonna be able to allow any access whatsoever?
No, there's a
Okay,
trail that comes down around the wetland, or the stormwater catch basin, but it follows this, and blocks people. from going
okay,
down there.
all right.
okay, so let's go back to the community park again. At 17 acres, are you telling me then that we're only counting 6 acres of the 17? Or when you do a calculation for parks, you're also including the wetland? It's my understanding you would include, you know, because if you look at the information for the King City Community Park, it's a 17-acre park. So I understand, you know, maybe 6 acres is currently being used, but it's all park, right, in the computations?
Technically, it's all park, and we don't encourage people to go to the forest. The vast majority of people use just the field.
But as we look at these other areas for park space, we're talking about trails and interpretive center, you know, areas and park benches and whatnot. So that's a big part of the plan for these future parks being passive parks. It's not playground equipment, you know, a track, and tennis court, but it's all considered, you know, you're not dividing up a park between open space that doesn't have any access and the park. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page when we're counting acreage, right?
Yeah, I think we have a differentiation between parks and open space.
There is. There's like 90 acres, right, in the master plan for, you know, open space. And then there are park, you know, like the community parks, 15 to 30 acres, right? There's a range. And you sent that table to everybody, right? So when you did the calculations for park space needed, it was a range between 42, I think it was, and about 95.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. So, you know, there's a lot of wiggle room. And so, you know, we're talking about wiggle room, we're talking about also where the parks show up in the master plan. There's also a quarter-mile circle around each one of those parks where it can be moved according to the master plan. So, you know, all of the community parks or most of the parks that we have planned aren't necessarily going to be in the wetlands. And I think that's one thing that we need to determine as a community, you know, as leadership for the community, and probably even have a survey of some sort of the community, is what do we want from our parks? What amenities do we want?
Well, that was the basis of the concept plan for the, trail, the power line trail, is to have all of those kinds of amenities, tennis courts, public gardens, playground, et cetera.
All of them in the linear park?
Well, not all of them are gonna be, but that's a huge park area.
Okay.
But we may not be able to do it.
But we may not be able to do it for a variety of reasons.
Okay. So,
And for what it's worth, the Kingston Terrace Master Plan doesn't see that as amenity flow. It's a linear park.
Yeah.
so, the question too is that linear park, is that in King City proper? Or is that linear park in Kingston Terrace? So it looks to me like 137th is the boundary.
Parts,
So actually, that park is not,
parts of it are in the city and parts are not.
okay, which part of the linear park is in the,
It's
Down
not
below.
exactly clear, because it says that, it mentions that linear park as part of the park systems, but then another way, parts of the Kingston Terrace Master Plan, it mentions.
so that's a
But
confusing,
there's a section down next to the current park, out to the power lines, that's in the city.
I think it's all in the city.
Well, in the future, it will be.
But now there's a section down where the community existing current and out to the power, that section is in the city already.
So, you know, the question is, you know, amenities and what does the community want? And I think that the town center is going to be demographically a very young, in my opinion, a very young demographic. And I don't know if anybody is kind of
Side.
that.
The young people are all on the east side.
I think we're going to have a tremendous number of seniors down there.
I've had a good number of seniors all working.
Is that right? Okay. I see it as entry-level homes at 400, low 400s, and, you know, single people have an opportunity for the first purchase.
That's true.
So,
Max, do you have any information on demographics of who's gonna be potentially buying these houses?
I have no idea.
Gotcha.
yeah. So anyway, I think it's worth examining as far as, you know, do we want a ball field?
And that's why we proposed having a park planner to handle that very professionally, and instead of us kind of
Guessing.
winging it.
I also think that would be appropriate to do at the time when the city is actually going to start exploring building that park. Then we'll have folks in the town center that are living there that are going to be next to it, and the survey will encompass people that are most likely going to use Community Park 1, for example. Hey, we're building a park in the next 3 years. What do you guys want to see on it? Because right now it's all very conceptual. We don't know when the city starts.
Well, I have a question. We currently have Kingston Terrace Master Plan, which is the comp plan, basically. And it defines all the land uses. And there are various policy statements that appear in that document, or wording that sounds like policy. Implement them, they need to be in the community development code. But some of them, it's not apparent that they are in the code. They're just statements. And so I see some concerns I have are that, how do you follow up? You know, is it just the city staff that looks at all those statements and makes sure that they're followed up on when development occurs?
So the issue with that is that the community development code, by state law, needs to be objective and clear. And so, for example, one of the policy statements in the master plan is, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's like, a great community that's livable. That's not objective nor is it clear. So we can't put that in the development code because
Doesn't meet that objective standard.
right. So like the design requirements for eyes on the street and the houses and the intersections of the pathways and stuff are supposed to kind of embody those more broader aspirational policies that are outlined in the comp plan.
So, for example, there's a statement, page 31 of the KTMP. Says final park and trail locations will be determined at the time of city acquisition and or developer dedication. So there was a phrase that one of my managers in my previous life when I worked used. He called it OBE, overcome by events. And so as this development progresses, the park system, reading this, could easily be overcome by events. And we end up not being able to get the park's size and locations defined before development is going on. And I'm really confused a little bit about what a parks master plan can do above and beyond what the current Kingston Terrace master plan already has in it. Even though it's not really defined, but now you see my concern is, spending all this money on a master plan be any better than what we face right now.
Right. Thank you for that, Commissioner. But this whole conversation did start with that development on 137th and the fact that it didn't have any green space. And we discussed adding a provision for requiring pocket parks. Now, I still think that that's possible. But was that the direction that the commission would rather go, try to, or code amendments to add smaller parks? The problem is that the Parks Master Plan, as I understand it, is that it would just be another layer on the comp plan, no wiggle room. So, his developer from Ken Randall kept mentioning, well, yeah, parks are great, but you guys don't have any code that says we have to build a parks for.
That's the problem.
Yeah, right, that was their whole thing.
Now, let's identify the problem and then try to figure out what the solution is, right? So if, and you mentioned in your email to me, I've got it right here. The city can try to encourage them to build a park or a portion of a park and receive credits. That's really the only mechanism currently for parks. If a developer or property owner sells land with the understanding that their land will become a park, or if a developer chooses a site that is directly on top of where a park is identified to be in the KTNP. But it can't be on top when you have a quarter mile, right, of play on where that park can go exactly.
Right. I believe it would get to the point where if a development had occurred all around a spot that the master plan pointed out as being park, then the city would just not accept applications for that because the master plan say that has to be a park. Well, you want to build here, but where else are we going to put a park that is in the master plan? Can't put it anywhere else. I think that would be grounds for
Okay,
for
Max,
incurring a development.
would a code provision specifically dealing with pocket parks get us to where we need to be? I'm not sure it would.
No, because
I'm not sure it would either. And again, pocket parks are kind of a mixed bag as far as usage, also maintenance. That Parks and Recreation Department in our.
yeah, that's the other question too, right? You build the parks, then you got to maintain them.
Right.
But you know, you guys sound like you're landscapers. You know, Gretchen and Carol. Sounds like you know landscaping. So when you put in a landscape, what do you start with? You start with your anchor plants, right? You start with your trees, your bigger plants. And I think that's the case here with our parks, is that our anchors are our community parks. And those are the ones, if we start allowing developments, right? You allow development here, you just took away 1/4 of your circle as far as where you can put that community park. I think that the primary objective right now, in terms of park planning, is identifying where those community parks are going. And secondly, what amenities we want. Because if you're going to have 2 community parks that are passive parks, right, those are your big parks. You've now taken away the opportunity to have a baseball diamond, right? And if the city doesn't want to have a baseball diamond, then so be it. But I mean, that's a big use of a community park.
Well, we have one more item. When I was on the Tiger Council, Tiger bought a huge parcel of 20, almost 30 acres, immediately on the other side of Roy Rogers, directly across the road from the town center. And their intent is to put ball fields, all of those kind of amenities, and it also has access to the Tualatin River.
But now we're relying on a different city,
Well, but
you
the
know?
point
So,
is, that is going to be a major park complex, for that. And I agree with you 100%, but we also have to
have our plan, you know, what we
have
want.
our plan. And the question is, does it make sense to go through the hoops of a master plan to do exactly what you're saying.
So it seems to me like other cities felt like there was a need to spend that kind of money, right?
Yes.
So I think that if,
They're much bigger cities,
well, you've got Sherwood, and I looked at,
4 times the size.
which at the time was 17,000
Yeah.
residents when they did their park master plan. You know, and I think King City is planning on being around 12. So, you know, we are a very small city. But if there's an opportunity to develop a parks master plan at somebody else's expense, right? Let's look for that opportunity.
Well, that's why this.
But in the meantime,
Right, yeah.
you know, maybe that opportunity won't happen for us, or maybe it's too far down the road. I think that we are getting that situation where we could paint ourselves into a corner where we don't have the ability to go, this is where it makes the most sense for our city and our community, right? We're gonna get forced into a situation where this is the last opportunity.
And to add to that, if you have a parcel that is a dedicated park, it's been shown that, homes that are within a certain distance of that park are more valuable, more money. And,
So it's nice to have dispersal,
so, yeah.
distribution throughout the
Yeah,
community.
right, and then, you know, you get like, and that has the city park with the homes around it, it's
Mhm.
nice.
You know, earlier I asked, the group here before, how close they were to the density requirements, right? And with Charlene Woods, I mean, you look at that development, it's like, boom, boom, those houses are
Yeah.
stacked, right? And they were right at the numbers required for density.
Yeah.
So in your table they provided us, you had a figure there of 3,800 units. Now, I had not seen 3,800 before. I had seen 3,200 to 3,600. Am I wrong on the 32 to 36? Was that a concept plan number or?
Master plan has your figure, and then the community development code has density minimums for each zone, which I believe is where I got the 3,800 from.
So that's,
Changed.
that's a 600 unit swing.
Part of it,
Yeah.
well, I remember 3,500 coming from Metro when they did their Almaty.
The master plan, I think you said, has 32 to 36.
But we've got a problem where we need to put the density not where your property is or River Terrace, Rivermead.
There are different density requirements for the varying neighborhoods, like rural is wider.
We have to have the higher density in the other areas. So, and this was mandated, River Terrace 2, we've got 18 for us, it's 20 for them. They're going to be even denser on the other side of the street.
I'm just curious where, so max is a number 3,800, or is it 32 to 36? What are we going with?
To be honest, this little code provision that says minimum number of units that must be accommodated by each neighborhood doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Because it says minimum net density assigned to each development, which makes more sense because the developments themselves are responsible for the density. Whereas the neighborhood is responsible, the city's responsible. So
I was on MPAC when this went to Metro for approval, and everybody talks 3,500 units.
I just want to know what it says. So, and what number we're going with. Maybe they were talking about 3,500 there, but I want to know what's in the plan.
When the city is reviewing developments, the number that we use to do the review for the density requirement is the number of dwelling units per net acre per the development. Larger number that is assigned to each neighborhood doesn't factor into that.
So if it's net acreage, can we, subtract from that net acreage a certain percentage to be used as, open space?
That's how it works, yeah.
Yeah.
Open space and parks, some factors, and street.
Right. So, so if a developer were to, not develop a particular lot, let's swing on it instead, that would come out of their net
Would,
acreage.
and then we run the risk of potentially getting at odds with Metro,
Mhm.
the master plan.
So it's also my understanding that if the city runs into a situation where they can't meet those numbers, they can always go back to Metro, right?
Yeah, so what I'll do, I don't have it in front of me right now, so I'll go back and look at, I'm wondering if it was a condition of approval for the urban growth boundary expansion to have the minimum,
I think it was.
and that's maybe where they got that 33 from.
32 to 36 was the range.
That's more workable.
And I think that also what I understand is with the LCDC, they're very concerned about transportation network, and they're very concerned about parks, right? And I think the question was asked, are you messing around with parks, or are you messing around, but what are you messing around with when you're doing an amendment? And parks was a big thing for them, was my understanding. So I think that getting back to the issue of what do we want as a community as far as amenities, what do we want out of our parks? And if we just want our community parks to be passive, which looks like the way we're going, then I think we're missing out on the opportunity to provide amenities that the community may want. You know, when it's tennis courts, restroom facilities. I know with the current community park, the lack of restroom facilities is a big deal. And so, you know, what I think we need to identify, what do we want from our parks? And trails are great, natural areas are great, open spaces, you know, all those things. But I think one of the things that we're lacking is maybe what does this younger, more active group, you know, if I'm an old guy, but when I get, I just realized that. But as I get older, I'm going to be more interested in taking a little nature hike, you know, at my leisure, at my pace, and benches along the way to sit and rest, right? I'm not going to be on the tennis court. I'm not going to be on the basketball court, right? I'm not going to be doing all of these things, but we have a younger, I believe, a younger group of people coming into this community that are going to be looking for those things.
That's why there was a public survey about the Power Line Trail, and there were suggestions, tennis court, did they want a soccer field, did they want community gardens, did they want playgrounds, you know, all those things. And when we did the concept plan, we came up with lots of things, but we put priorities as to which we thought were the most important. And the fact of the matter is, we don't have the acreage, we don't have room for a cook park with all the amenities. We're not going to have the room to do a park like Tigard is going to do immediately across the street. We're going to have very limited opportunities, and that's just the reality, unless we are able to develop the trail, the Power Line Trail, the way that is planned in the concept plan. I agree with you about parks, but we have limited opportunities because of the density.
It's going to become even more limited, so that's
So
important.
I'm going to cut to the chase. Do we want to do this? Or if somebody's got a suggestion how to fix this, we need to come up with that so we can go to city council with it. And I think it's very timely.
That was the question I started with was, I think that seeking out funding from Parks Master Plan is great, but I think that an amendment to this resolution would be to try to work through these questions, right, as a commission and the city council, and try to develop more specific guidance, and also take out some of that ability of a developer to wiggle out of not, building a park, right? So if we're able to, look at another city's master plan and try to emulate that, and try to put in some guidance so that we can hold these developers accountable, or start the process of having conversations with landowners are you interested in a park going on your property, right? Starting those discussions and start focusing in on what would be the ideal place to put these parks. I think that's really important that we do that now rather than waiting for something to happen.
Well, if you look at section 2 on the resolution, council authorized staff to seek funding and devote resources, in other words, time, towards the development of amendments to the community code to ensure that we have, everything we want.
Would that give, Max, would that give you enough wiggle room to do what we're talking about?
I would say section 2 refers to affordable housing.
Housing, right.
Okay.
Section 1.
Excuse me, section 1?
Section 1 should include seek funding or devote resources towards development of the Kingston Terrace Master Plan and amendments.
Max, does that make sense to you as far as, you know, kind of the push, you know, the concern for?
It makes sense. I was here for it.
What's that?
I was here for
Yeah.
the development that is much to our degree. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's what precipitated all this, is being concerned about that.
The Kensington Square.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when we did the town center, parks were part of the process.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think there's a development going in or a home going in on Myrtle that I think that there was some talk about maybe there was a pocket park or something that was planned for that particular location. Anyway.
Oh, okay, that's where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one example, right?
Yeah, right, okay.
I think, okay, if
Was it neighborhood park?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
if this is what, and what I'm hearing, I want to make sure that when this goes to council, that you are able to articulate the concerns that the commission has, which is theoretically included in section 1.
I welcome any commissioner to come and speak to the council as well.
Well, yeah, I think,
There we go. Free to come.
I think you
Remind me of the meeting, and
and
I'll
she's
come.
the one, she's the
Wednesday night,
designer.
gotta go by.
Yeah,
I'll definitely talk at open forum about it.
Yeah, perfect.
but I would prefer that you be the official, if you wouldn't mind,
Oh, well,
Carol.
okay,
I would prefer, since this is your bailiwick,
okay.
that you, present this, because this is, parks are small issues. I'm a master planner, gardener, but this is your bailiwick. Would you be willing to do that, Carol?
Yes, which meeting is this going to?
Well, if it's voted on today, then it'll be at the meeting in November, which I think.
19th, okay, I put it on here.
Second, I want to also ask a question about the second part of this, and that's the affordable housing. I'm not sure, when I first saw that, I wasn't sure exactly where that came from. I think that I had mentioned, and can't remember much more of the conversation beyond what I was talking about.
Came out of the legislature.
I had asked about possibility for manufactured homes, because I think that was something that was mentioned in the master plan.
It was brought up in a previous meeting when I discussed that River Terrace 2.0 has going to incorporate code provisions for supplemental housing, and then that's for that. And don't have any such incentive for developers to build even smaller houses right now is the fact that they would pay less in development charges.
That's a bit of a subsidy, but
Subsidies, I'm not even exactly sure how the city would be able to encourage that. I don't know if that's our jurisdiction.
Can I ask a question? When we did the Habitat for Humanity, did the city give them a total waiver on
That was
all
before I got here.
SPCs?
Sure.
Could you check into that? Because when I was on the Tiger Council, when we did,
At that time, that administration said no. No waivers.
no waivers, because when I was on the Tiger Council, when we had, developments, they were multifamily units, we either gave them a full waiver of SDCs or a 50% waiver of SDCs. So that, when these are nonprofits that are doing these kinds of developments, there's a variety of them around. I just pass that on as something at least we should, that's something I think should be passed on to the council as a possible incentive.
I'm not, well versed in what the different types are. I've heard of Section 8, right, and there's
That's rentals only.
rentals. See, I don't even know what the different categories are, what the different options are for that.
Well, sometimes you, can sell a home below market rate, and, the person lives in it, and, but when they sell it, they can't, sell it at market rate. They, again, have to turn it over at, lower than market rate.
So what programs?
It's just been around for a long time,
Can't
like 20,
remember.
30 years. Because we have a neighbor who is getting her house ready to sell, but she got it at a lower rate, so she won't get as much equity as the people who paid market for their homes,
There must be multiple programs, right?
There's multiple
Yeah.
programs.
I think
That's one of them.
So we would probably need to, if this is something we're gonna pursue, I would think we would need to understand what those options are.
Yeah.
Right? And rather than going affordable housing, well, what does that mean,
I
right?
just used
Yeah.
the example of two things, Habitat for Humanity programs, and, when these various, organizations that are set up to do nothing but affordable housing, and it's usually multiple or multifamily buildings, they will get a special rate and discounted SDCs because they are going to be available, if it's a rental building, only for people who make less than X percent of, average middle income. You've got the less than 60%, you've got the less than 30%, and those rules are state and metro oriented. They aren't city rules. We have to abide by, jurisdictions above our pay grade.
So, so this is where we, again, need technical assistance. There are lots and lots of housing groups that know the ropes, and we don't,
Can we separate out the two? Can we do the parks this time and do some more research on the affordable housing part and just see what the options are and what is a good fit? And
I think that's what he's done here with Section 1 and Section 2. I'm sorry, Section 2 is about,
same resolution.
yeah.
What,
Oh, I see, okay.
we also,
Separate resolution,
we also
maybe.
have pressure coming from the state after the latest legislation, that there's a lot of pressure on local jurisdictions to comply. So we're gonna have to deal with this sooner rather than later on the affordable housing piece.
There's no mandate right now, correct?
I can't remember when those bills go into effect.
Actually, aware of any mandates or anything coming your way for the city that's gonna be a requirement for?
I know the winds are blowing that direction, but I don't know exactly the timeline or how.
I can't remember the exact
Larger cities.
effective date. Some of them were in 30 days after the governor signed, and others go into effect the first.
The recommendation would be to parse those two things out and create two different resolutions.
That's what's so annoying about what the legislature does, is that they've taken away most of the discretion that local government has.
Just the only reason that I can combine them into one resolution is, one, we talked about them at the same meeting last time, and two, the way that this resolution is written, it really just authorizes staff to go and seek technical grants. The purpose of the resolution is, one, to direct staff, but also anytime I go to an organization for a grant, I just send them this resolution and say, hey, we've got public support.
You've got to have,
All right, that's fine, we
you've got to
just,
have it.
It doesn't need to be too, technically specific, but I can do more research, best I can, to try to provide more avenues for future
What are the different categories, the different,
I would like
That's
to
what I thought
see
we
us
thought.
get this far so that we look like we are following state rules.
we want to look like we're doing something.
You know what I mean? So I was vehemently opposed to what the legislature passed this time. So,
Are there any other recommended amendments to the resolution besides the addition of King City Community Code in section 1?
anybody
I
else?
do have a question, a follow-up that we've had a discussion previously about single-story living options. That was brought up.
I brought that up,
And
yeah.
that is code.
I don't believe the city can require fixed housing types beyond attached.
Remember, we had the discussion about having, bedrooms on the first floor
I
and
spoke with
for low,
the city
for,
attorney, and she said that
So due to House Bill 2001, 2003, cities are not allowed to dictate what houses go into where and what type of houses go into zoning.
we don't have any power to control what our plans are.
Mm-mm.
We only really control the yard, the lot, and what's outside of it. Anything that's inside, outside of it.
again,
Even though the Kingston Terrace Master Plan says, that it includes single-story living options in manufactured homes. That's the wording.
well, unfortunately, the state law has changed.
And it does include those by
Not restricted, okay, so.
Yeah.
And
That's-
so again, like Kensington Square came to us, and there was no way to get single-story living in that development.
yeah,
And you can't change the code.
it's really just the state is coming in and saying you can't restrict housing. Even if it's requiring a certain type of housing type, that is in essence restricting other housing.
This is why I was down in Salem testifying, to try and stop what they were doing.
But this is one thing that I can certainly, and I've mentioned before, begin to bring up to prospective developers in pre-app meetings when they come to the city with inquiries and stuff, and, you know, they'll ask you, what are the needs of the city and project, and I can say, well, we would really like to see some more single-story homes, but that is about the extent that the
Yeah.
city is allowed to do.
Yeah, if we can maybe build suggestions into the development.
I wish we could.
No, well, here's what's allowed, you know.
And also, I think.
3 stories.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, unfortunately, I see the majority of people who are going to be moving here are not going to be young families with young children. And, I would love to see that happen. But
I saw an interesting, PowerPoint it was, I guess, where it talked about how, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 90% of the starts were for, the nuclear family, right? But now we're still starting homes like that is the norm. It turns out that something like 90% of people who are looking for a place are not a nuclear family. It's Max moving to Oregon. It's roommates, partners, people without kids.
or Mr. and Mrs. Jones who don't have any kids.
So I just see, like, my daughter's age, she's 30.
Yeah, mine too, yeah.
So, generally, they're single,
Right?
and they're looking for their first home, and they're buying homes, in Hillsborough and other areas that are just like what I see being built over here off of Ray Rogers Road, and what's gonna happen in this new homes company.
Yeah.
They're looking to get into something for the low 400s that they can afford along with help from their parents. And, that's what I see from a personal standpoint.
And when you see that kids aren't getting married right out of high school anymore, I was 40 when I had my kids, and so that demographic that's actually getting married later or not getting married, we don't have housing for them, like your kids, like my kids, you know?
They're buying these.
I would say,
It's still set up for small families and starter families. It's not set up for an individual.
Yes? You had a comment?
No, just,
I got.
get a little sidetracked here.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it, I'm sorry.
Over here, we think it's going to be younger families with children. Over here, we think it's going to be older families. I think it's going to be in the middle of that. It's basically Pearl, the town center is going to be our Pearl District type deal. Point being, none of us actually know, but we could discuss this for I'll bet
Okay.
you money.
Okay,
Wait, I'm not done.
okay.
You want
I'll
to
bet you money,
He wants to go home.
new home company knows who they're selling to.
Yeah.
I think if we want an answer from someone who has money in the game, we should ask the people that are building, because they know who their customers are gonna be.
I would agree with that.
We could talk about it
Okay.
forever.
All right, I think I have been reminded that we need to get back to the point. Do we want to send this resolution with the one change?
Or do you want to split the resolutions, or do whatever you guys want to do?
Okay with living together.
Okay, all right. The
Because of what it is you're trying to accomplish, right?
point is to get the discussion going.
Yes, and I would also recommend, potentially a work session for the planning commission, because I got a ton of materials here, a ton of questions regarding parks. I mean, really, there's a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that it would behoove us to go through that. This is the type of thing that we do as a planning commission, right?
Well, we are
So-
due for we already have a work session scheduled for, is it the second Wednesday in November, if my memory serves me, whatever date that is?
Yes.
That
We'll
we're
have
going
those
to
work
talk
sessions,
about the
local wetland
local
inventory.
wetlands inventory, which finally came down.
We're,
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
that,
it's been scheduled.
and we're going to have a work session and then have the hearing in December. It's been my experience that having a work session on a major issue is a good,
So I would like to make a recommendation, and that is that if there are upcoming meetings, please let us know so that we can put them on our calendar. So if you already have an idea that there's going to be a work session in middle of November, it'd be nice for me to put that on my calendar.
I talked
Sarah and I talked about that
yesterday,
Okay, all right.
so
So-
it's hot off the press. That's
In addition-
bringing it up.
In addition, this meeting today was not the fourth Wednesday of the month.
We had to change it because of a conflict.
But we weren't asked as planning commissioners what our availability was. So you spoke to the developer and yourself and Max and whoever else and determined the 29th was a good date. But I think that you also need to involve the planning commission to make sure that it's a good date for us as well.
But it's sometimes things are going to happen. It inevitably is going to happen.
But I'm just requesting,
I hear you,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a work session scheduled. We decided that yesterday
Okay.
on the second Wednesday. Is that the 12th?
I believe that's the 12th.
And then, and we're not going to have a meeting the fourth Wednesday because it's the night before Thanksgiving. And,
just do your best to let us know in advance of when.
and then we will have a hearing on the wetlands inventory the second Wednesday in December. That's what we decided, wasn't it, yesterday?
Yes.
Did we,
December.
In
did we
December.
decide that our workshop is in the morning?
November and December. The workshop's
No.
in November.
We're going to
and there'll
have
be
to
a
have
meeting
it in the evening.
for the local wetland inventory, November 12th.
12th. And then whatever the second Wednesday in December, is that the 10th?
The date.
I think it's the 10th.
Session for them?
Wednesday or the third?
For
The second
first
Wednesday.
conversation.
We normally are second and
And
fourth
to get
Wednesday.
background information on the
LWI.
inventory.
Okay, and then another meeting on LWI in
Yes,
December.
if you tentatively mark the second and the fourth Wednesday, that is going to cover 95% of hearing dates.
I understand the fourth Wednesday. I didn't.
No, we are scheduled for the second Wednesday as well. So,
Wednesdays are usually
Planning.
yeah, most of the time, those are going to be work. So,
Fourth.
if you tentatively mark the second and the fourth Wednesday,
Got it.
So the dates that I have for the work session is November 12th, and the hearing is on December 10th.
yes,
Does the commission want to have the November 12th meeting evening?
I think I need to have it in the evening. I cannot do it in the morning.
Did you say December 10th?
That's the hearing date.
Or
November
I'm sorry,
November 12 and December 10.
Yes.
That's the second and the second.
Okay, I can't do December 10th.
I cannot either.
So that's why we talk about these things.
All right, can you do the dates, those dates, Commissioner Mitchell? Can you do
I'm
them?
good. Yeah.
Dean, are you good?
I don't know. I mean, I'll look at home.
And as long as we have quorum, because the fourth Wednesday is Christmas Eve.
We can't do them the fourth, either Thanksgiving or Christmas. Christmas is on Thursday this year. So we have to do them the second. What?
I just got the okay.
Oh,
Chair,
okay.
if I may, can we get back to the resolution?
Oh, yes.
All right, I move that we send this resolution with an amendment to section 1, including the council, the community code amendments, to city council.
You recommend adoption.
I recommend adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? I think we've discussed this ad nauseum.
Well, really not, because we're gonna have a work session, and I think we can vet out a lot of these things.
Why don't we plan a work session on this in January?
I thought we already determined it was gonna be November.
No, that's for the,
I think they would be both.
you think you can do
By
both?
Wednesday.
Okay, all right, all right. It may be a long meeting then.
That's okay with me. The sooner we get on this, the better, I think.
All right, I'm just
Yep.
being aware that after 2 hours, most of us, our attention span starts to deteriorate.
Or get irritable.
Okay. Is that okay, Ronnie? You got those dates down?
Yep. And then all at 6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
And do we have a vote?
Yes, okay.
Commissioner Meyer seconded.
We're calling, calling the question. We need a roll call vote?
I'm not on this.
No. All right, raise your hand.
So in favor of recommending approval with amendments to city council.
Yeah, this is something that's been pending for quite a while, and I really appreciate you doing the work, Max, because you've been totally overwhelmed.
Okay.
I did have a meeting, a prospective meeting with the developer yesterday, well, not much of a meeting, he came to City Hall and talked to me. And he's looking to develop some land, not, one of the. Timeline for that is probably a year before we get to hearing, but just that's in your realm of consciousness, that was that's
Okay.
the only development that I have on my radar at the moment.
That's a bike shop?
It is the bike shop.
Is that the only available property yet for,
There's some land behind the dentist's office too.
and that's it for available land in the
Yeah,
King City?
and,
There's a couple lots in Old King City, and there's some larger property owners that have talked about potentially
the
selling.
property at the corner of 131st and Fisher,
Well, that, yeah, for the mixed use.
for the
area.
mixed
In the
use,
corner there.
yeah. And,
Like, there's that woods behind the elementary school, which I don't know.
no, that's,
Wetland.
no, wetlands.
Yeah.
I was involved in getting that designated as wetlands back in the day.
It's actually a wetland.
Yeah.
It's called a wetland at
I
the school,
think
but.
it's,
It's got two,
I think it's a CWS thing.
it has two creeks running through it.
They had to regrade everything.
There's a lot.
Well, but it's still,
I motion we adjourn.
Thank you.
You need a second.
I'd like to
Oh,
make a suggestion for future agenda items for discussion. We're doing a lot more of proactive stuff as opposed to simply waiting for applications to come in, which is great. I would love to have an ongoing agenda item of what's going on in King City that affects us, because it's a lot. What's going on with our, new city manager, what's our status there, that affects us. The TSP relook is probably the biggest thing ever. What's happened on that, you know, just a,
Staff report, like.
Max, if you could just give us a quick, what's gone on since we last met,
Yeah, we can do that.
that affects us.
Yeah.
I don't need the police budget, I don't need.
No, I'm not sure that's okay.
all right. Oh,
But-
we need you to withdraw.
I withdraw my motion. Adjourn.
Go ahead, are we waiting for a motion?
No, you want,
We got it.
we
Okay,
need,
make a motion to add that to the agenda, D.
yeah.
I would like to make a motion to add a King City status update to the, as an ongoing agenda item.
Is there a
A
second?
brief update.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
All right.
We will add that.
Okay, now,
Do you want that at the beginning? Let's do the end of the meeting.
yeah.
I don't know, I'd like it at the beginning.
Well,
I'd like it at the beginning.
well, if we're having a public hearing,
Yeah, it's derailed.
Okay.
okay.
I can move.
Now we need to, would you reiterate your
I move that
motion?
we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Good work.
We got a chance for it.
I really do hear.
Oh, no, under 2 hours.